Misfits, people ask me all the time about tools that I use in my life and business to maximize my success. I usually start by telling them one of my most powerful tools is my morning habits. And of course, they look at me somewhat confused. I then explain how important it is for me to center myself and how I begin my day and plan for my success. It's critical to consistent high performance. And it doesn't take me long, about 5 or 10 minutes, because I use a great resource called the 5-Minute Journal. The 5-Minute Journal is the simplest, most effective way I've ever found to start your day in the right mindset, doing the right things, and set yourself up for success. And it is exactly what it says, a 5-minute exercise you can do each day. Let me ask you, if you could reach your next level in your life and business by spending just 5 minutes of focused time a day, would you do it? I bet you would. And I know it works because I've experienced the power of it. And you can get your 5-minute journal simply by going to www.misfitentrepreneur.com/journal. That's misfitentrepreneur.com/journal. Do what I do. Use this amazing resource to give yourself an edge in your performance and your success. Get your 5-minute journal today.
Hello, Misfit entrepreneurs. Welcome to another edition of Lessons for Hannah. Many years ago, I introduced a new format that, alongside our regular episodes, are called Lessons for Hannah. And Hannah's my daughter and one of the main inspirations for the Misfit entrepreneur. I wanted to have a place where she could go and learn from her dad and his Misfit friends throughout her life, even after I'm gone. And if you haven't listened to the first episode of Lessons for Hannah, I urge you to go do so, as it gives some more background and tells the amazing story of how Hannah came to be in our lives. These episodes are short, very useful, sometimes comical lessons that I want to share with you and give to Hannah to help in your lives. And because I want Hannah to have these for her life, I'm going to speak as though I am talking directly to her. These episodes are a lot of fun. And if you think that there's a lesson that we should include in these episodes, please don't hesitate to send it over to us at support@misfitentrepreneur.com. We'd love to share it. And as a reminder, if you are new to watching the show on YouTube, hit the subscribe button below. Give this video a like and comment as well. We do our best to respond to all comments as timely as possible. All right, so here we go. This week's lesson for Hannah. Hannah, just a few months ago, I shared a lesson about setbacks and how life sometimes knocks you off course and tests your resilience in ways you didn't expect. At the time, I was dealing with a pretty nasty nerve injury that had taken me from really elite Ironman training at that point in time to struggling just to walk normally. And today, I'm less than 2 weeks away from competing in the Ironman World Championships. Yes, 2 weeks. So not just walking, not just functioning, but ready to race, strong, focused, prepared. And I didn't get here overnight. I didn't get here with one big leap. I got here by stacking small wins. And that's really the lesson that I want to share with you today. Really several lessons. So the first part of the lesson is that big comebacks are built one brick at a time. When I was injured, the goal of walking or even competing again, let alone doing it at a world championship level, felt impossible, felt miles away. But I made a decision to focus on what I could do. And each day I showed up, I did my PT exercises. I just did them, before I'm recording this episode. I was consistent even when the progress was microscopic. I didn't skip, I didn't make excuses. Every small session, every uncomfortable rep, every moment of stretching, foam rolling, all the things that I had to do, it all added up. And so stacking those small gains day after day is really what brought me back. And Hannah, this is probably one of the most important principles that you'll ever learn. Success is really about giant leaps. It's about purposeful steps that are taken consistently. And whether it's recovering from an injury, building a business, learning a skill, or improving yourself, you win by laying one brick each day. That's how you build something great. And that brings me to the next part of the lesson. Small changes make a big difference. As I recovered and I started to ramp up my training, I knew that I couldn't afford to waste time or energy. My comeback had to be smart, right? That's when I decided to try something new, something that I hadn't ever done in over a decade of training. I actually started tracking my daily nutrition. Now, a lot of people do that out there. I'd never done it, right? I had a pretty consistent, eating routine and all of that, but, it's not something I'd really ever thought about. But every meal, every macro, every nutrient. I looked at what I was putting in my body and how it was fueling my training and my recovery. And what I found really surprised me. Even with how well I thought I was eating, there were gaps, major gaps in some areas, deficiencies that were holding me back. And once I identified those and I made some simple tweaks, my recovery accelerated even more. My energy stabilized, my workouts got stronger. I came back faster, right? My ability to push further improved dramatically, all from this slight little change. So, Hannah, never underestimate the power of a small intentional adjustment. Sometimes a 1% shift in the right direction completely changes the outcome. And that brings me to the last part of the lesson. That is, visualize the outcome and celebrate the progress. Physical recovery is only part of the equation. The mental game is just as important, maybe even more important. And there were many days where I was on this journey where the, doubts crept in, where I wondered if I'd be able to get back or, if I was really just kidding myself. So I started two practices that made a huge difference in addition to a lot of the other things I do from a mental game standpoint, right? The first was spending more time on visualization. So most mornings I'd spend a few minutes picturing myself kind of back at full strength, visualizing myself, completing and at the finish line and that sort of thing, from the championships races, things like that. I saw myself training with power, with confidence, right? That image, it gave me direction, it gave me focus, even when the road still felt long. And then I also added to my journaling. So I started journaling more on the positive progress of things. So at the end of each day, I'd write down like one positive gain in this area, right? It didn't matter how small. Maybe it was, I held stretch longer that, made it, my back feel looser. I was able to, bike a little stronger or, a little faster on a run or just felt less pain overall. And I tracked that upward momentum. And it was cool because I use Chat GPT too as also a journal of this. And so I can go back now and I can say, summarize where I've come and where I've been and that sort of thing. And it's been fun that it's kept up with me like that. So over time, these two things really, kind of helped reshape my mindset. And I've, made it so I got automated reminders of things too that keep it forefront. So this helped me really overcome, some of the, the fear that I had, the doubt, the discouragement, and reminded me that I was making progress and that, I could get all the way back and then some. And yes, I prayed through it all. Many of my visualizations, my journaling sessions became just simply quiet prayers, asking for strength, for healing, for guidance. And I truly believe that really grounding myself spiritually helped me stay centered and strong. Hand of the mind is really the most powerful thing, right? You can use it as an ally or you can use it against yourself. And so when you face tough situations or tough seasons in your life, you got to see that outcome. You got to celebrate every inch of progress. You got to use your mind to help you get through, those roadblocks, those barriers and everything. And so even better though, talk to God about it. He's always listening. You know, now that I'm really standing on the edge of, what for me is something incredible, being able to go from not walking to where I'm going to compete in this thing. And, my goal is to just, is to make sure I finish. But the championships, that's what they're about, right? And you can go back and you can see videos of people that have like crawled across the finish line of this thing to make it now. And I'm said the same to myself. I am going to do whatever it takes to get across that finish line. But in reality, I feel like I'm not just back. In a lot of ways, I'm better, I'm stronger, I'm wiser. I found some things about myself that I probably would have never found out if I didn't go through this, right? The road here wasn't really straight or easy. It was filled with the setbacks, the doubts, the pain, and, a lot of that hard work, but every bit of it was worth it because, like I said, it taught me something that I don't think I would have learned otherwise, right? Comebacks are more powerful than victories. They show you who you really are. So, Hannah, one day you're going to have your own comeback story. Life is going to knock you down. It's not a matter of if, but when. And when that moment comes, I want you to remember this. Don't rush the process. Stack your small wins. Don't overlook those small changes. One shift can change everything. Don't give in to doubt. Visualize your victory. Track your gains. Pray through it. And don't quit. The reward isn't just in the result. It's in becoming the kind of person who keeps going when it's hard. You are stronger than you think. You have more power in you than you know. And when life tests you, you'll find that out. I love you, and I hope this lesson will serve you well for the rest of your life. Dad.